We've asked him to come on. And so far, his campaign won't respond, correct? Correct. So I'm going to let everybody in all of our 13 different affiliates across the state of Pennsylvania. Dr. Oz doesn't want to talk to you, apparently. He doesn't want to. And look, I don't do getcha stuff. I don't invite people onto my show to be a bitch to them. I never have, and I never will. But I am going to ask you questions. For instance, he tweeted back on March 15th, 2018, quote, "Right now, the CDC at CDC.gov is not funded to study gun violence in this country. It's time we treat shootings as a public health problem. Contact your congressperson today to demand that they fund the CDC to comprehensively study gun violence. Hashtag in the band." Well, that's a Bloomberg talking point. That is exactly what you would say if you're anti-gun. I've discussed this at length. I've written 2 books where I've addressed it. First off, he is lying in this tweet. The CDC is not barred from studying any violence at all whatsoever pertaining to the illegal use or carry of firearms. In fact, the language is so incredibly precise. It's from a 1996 budget provision. And what it did was bar the use of taxpayer dollars to advocate for or against gun control. The sentence reads, quote, "Provided further that none of the funds made available for injury prevention and control at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention may be used to advocate or promote gun control." Not only can tax dollars not be used to fund gun control or promote gun control, they can't be used to promote pro-2A stuff. The left wanted to politicize science and research using our tax dollars, and when they were prohibited from doing so, they went out and lied to everybody and claimed that they were entirely banned from researching anything related to quote-unquote gun violence. Now, why would any self-proclaimed Republican want the CDC handling this anyway? This is the same CDC that destroyed their own gun control narrative in the 90s because they found out that lawful defensive gun usage vastly outmeasured criminal usage, and they didn't report their findings because it contradicted their support for gun control. If you signed up for my newsletter, you got all of the receipts on that in your inbox. This is a government agency that used our tax dollars for surveys to argue for gun control, and then they hid the results from the taxpayers when the results of the surveys compromised their political mission. This is the same CDC that lied about and inflated firearm fatality numbers and dragged their feet for 2 years before finally changing it. And by the way, they've been fact-checked on this by Forbes, USA Today, and PolitiFact. I know the left loves them. This is the same CDC that wanted to use its federal authority to falsely present a medical need to restrict firearm ownership, just as the CDC involved itself in state-regulated lease agreements for the sake of health. The same CDC actively erasing women in the name of science by tweeting and promoting and changing their documentation to birthing persons. And this is the same CDC, with receipts, by the way, caught misrepresenting the child fatality COVID rate, and in response, the Wall Street Journal and Johns Hopkins publicly fisked and corrected their figures. So here's my problem. I have a problem with any Republican that chooses to describe the willful and deliberate choice of violence with an illegally possessed inanimate object as being similar to that of a communicable disease, while using Bloomberg rhetoric as a way to boost legitimacy of a federal infringement. That is inexcusable. Dr. Oz's rhetoric demands explanation and not excuses. This is a guy, and I have the audio, I'll play it for you later. He endorsed red flag laws. This is a guy who had no problem until his campaign with numerous previously published anti-Second Amendment columns ghostwritten for him. My friend Cam Edwards said this, quote, "It doesn't matter to me if he's been endorsed by Ted Nugent, Donald Trump, or the ghost of John Moses Browning. What matters to me are his words and deeds. And Dr. Mehmet Oz has done far more to advance the cause of gun control than the right to keep and bear arms during his time as a public figure," end quote. And all the people that he just mentioned, save for Browning, are friends of mine and I've known for over a decade. I get that a candidate's thinking on the issue may evolve and they may change their mind over time, but I've never seen anybody go 180 on an issue right before an election without any explanation at all whatsoever. It is right and just to ask questions and to demand answers. Like I said, I'm all for welcoming converts to the fold, but that doesn't mean that you race to put them in important elected positions right away. Now, I want you to notice this is when you're going to see whether or not the rhetoric from some of these consultants and pundits out there about putting the country first actually matches their actual heart's desire to do it. We have asked Dr. Mehmet Oz repeatedly to come on this program, and his campaign will not respond. And I'm going to keep updating you about it because he apparently does not want to address this. I'm not going to be a jerk about it, but I'm not here to pat anybody on the back. I mean, I view this stuff the way that you do. I don't view myself as being on the side or friendly or all buddy-buddy with politicians.